What is everybody? Welcome back to the FTN NBA live stream. I am your host, Kyle, joined by Javi. We got a nice little NBA slate. We just got some news from me breaking down that news as well as, the slate up to lock. Hope you guys are having yourselves a good day. Javi, how are you doing today? I know you have been white hot as of late. I guess we could call it on
White
all
hot.
sports.
White
All
hot.
sports. Yeah,
Not red hot, white hot, huh?
even better than red hot. But yeah, PGA you've been crushing, esports,
Yeah.
even NBA as well. So yeah, I mean, hey, how's it feel? And you're gonna bring some of that mojo back to the show again?
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm trying to get this live final ticket for NBA too, because the live finals next Friday, and then the hockey one's on Saturday. I already qualified for the hockey one, so I'm trying to win this basketball one so I can just do a back-to-back. Why not stress myself out some more, right, Kyle?
Yeah. Is the hockey one in Nashville?
That's right. Yeah, hockey and basketball in Nashville.
Oh, nice. Is it in the back-to-back weeks? You said.
Back-to-back days, actually.
Oh wow. Look at
Yeah.
that. They're making a weekend out of it. You know what they're doing? They're bundling it together to save the margins there. That's what they're doing. But I'm sure it'll be double the fun, obviously with double days of contest and all that good stuff. But wish you the best of luck with that. However, today we have ourselves, what is it, 6 games? Yeah, 6-game slate. We have 1 game locking at 7. So again, same deal as what we've kind of dealt with in a couple of slates recently, where if you wanted to push back your lineup blocks, you can do that to the 7:30 games. But let's talk about that 7 o'clock game first here. Detroit at Washington. A lot of the same news for these two squads here. The one new injury I guess we can talk about is Hamidou Diallo. But he just got ruled in, so he is going to be available. He was initially listed as doubtful, then questionable. Now he's going to play. So he's good to go. And then Marvin Bagley, who was doubtful, is officially ruled out. As far as Washington, same sort of deal. We're not going to get Porzingis, and obviously Bradley Beal is out for the year. So what are your thoughts on this game here?
Well, I was curious to see your takes on your Detroit basketball, but yeah, I mean, I really want to push out salary, but I think the most important news is what we got already. Like Fred VanVleet's out, OG Anunoby's out, which is big. That's obviously bumps up Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, and Gary Trent, like all 3 guys. And I don't know how I'm not going to play. I mean, we'll talk about that game later, but I don't know how I'm not going to play 2 of those guys in every lineup. But for Detroit and Washington, this is a good matchup, right? Both defenses. Washington started off red hot on defense, and with the injuries and the trade deadline, they've just tanked defensively. So I think Detroit is very sneaky, but if you don't want to lock in your salary and wait for late news, you can definitely do that. I think Cade Cunningham is too cheap. He really is for the upside that he presents. And I'm curious your take as a Detroit fan, because I feel like he's had an up and down year. He is the future of that team, but I think there's a lot of consistencies, and I mean he's a first-year player, so it's expected. But at 7,500, I think he's the main guy that I really want to focus on. I really want to play Marvin Bagley, but he's out today, so I don't know. I can't get burned by Jeremy Grant anymore. As much of a fan as I am of him, I mean that's pretty big. Like him being out gives a boost to Kelly O, Beef Stew here. But the guy that I really want here from the Detroit side is probably Cade Cunningham. Again, I'm doing 3 lineups here, so I am probably going to play Cade in 1, have exposure to Kelly O in 1 as well. And that's about it. Like, it's not a team that I really want to focus on, even though I think, Jeremy Grant does have an upside, but he's just been struggling. And you can tell that when Cade Cunningham, it kind of cuts into his usage quite a bit. So curious your take, because I can't really decide on Beef Stew or Kelly O. For right now, I lean Kelly O, though.
Yeah, so I have similar thoughts, in terms of my thoughts on Cade. Like I think he's interesting. And I think the part about him that interesting is because he's kind of in a price range where it doesn't feel like a lot of people are going to go to him. I do think he's going to have more ownership than, like say you took away his name and you just like laid out his, projection and his price and all that stuff. I think if he didn't have the name value, he'd probably be a bit lower owned, which I typically don't love. But I have him at about 12% right now on DraftKings, so I don't think he'll be too high. And I agree with you. I think he has a ceiling. I think the big part with him is his minutes have been up and down a ton, and he really hasn't shown any sort of consistency to play like mid-30s minutes often, right? Like last game against Charlotte, like that was an overtime game and he played 32 minutes. So like you need more than that from Cade at this price in terms of minutes, which that's my main issue with him. Like probably going to be difficult to project him for mid-30s minutes. He's just not doing that right now. They have Joseph there. They have Diallo, who's going to be fine for this game. So, or at least active. I guess we'll have to see if he's going to be limited on a minutes limit or anything like that. But they have backups there that can get in there for some minutes. So that's my one concern with Cade. But the ceiling's there typically every night because the usage has been so good on a consistent basis, 26% usage rate. So I do like that with Cade, but the minutes is the issue with me. And he hasn't really been like an overly efficient scorer either. But from a fantasy perspective, you don't always need that from him because he does do a good job filling up the rest of the stat sheet. So the main concern is just the minutes. In terms of your debate between Stewart and Olynyk, I'm going Stewart pretty easily, in my opinion. We saw late last game against Charlotte where they made it obvious that they wanted Isaiah Stewart in there in the end of the game. He got into some foul trouble in the third quarter, so he only played 28 minutes in an overtime game, which 28 minutes might, not seem like a ton considering he played overtime. But the fact that he missed a large part of the second half due to that foul trouble tells me he was on track for probably 28 to 30 minutes, which I think is definitely good enough there for Stewart. And I think last game went about as good as could have possibly gone for Kelly Olynyk, and the price is now up to where it's the same as Stewart. I don't think that there's any world where Olynyk plays more minutes than Stewart. The only thing that you can really make a case for is that Olynyk's probably going to be the higher usage guy when he is on the floor. But other than that, it's Stewart over Olynyk for me. I don't think he'll have a ton of ownership either. But just to rephrase these Detroit guys, none of those guys are priorities for me. I think that they're fine plays, but not guys I'm going on my way to get. But Stewart would probably be my favorite Piston as of now on DraftKings, on FanDuel. Jeremy Grant's under 6K. Don't mind taking a shot at him. But as for Washington, let's talk about these guys here. I wrote up Daniel Gafford in my article as my favorite center of the night. That's mostly because of lineup construction, like a lot of really strong guards and a couple of really, top end forwards that I like to pay up for. So Gafford's kind of fitting in there nicely at the center spot. We don't have a lot of those big name centers like we're used to having. No Jokic on the slate. The highest price center is Karl Anthony Towns. So after that, there's not even really anybody else with a big price tag after Towns. So when you're not spending up at center all that much, don't mind saving salary with Gafford. So Gafford's probably going to be a core play for me. The one thing I don't love is the ownership. He's going to be very popular, so I'm curious your thoughts on him on DraftKings. He still is sub 4K, which is super appealing. Really good production over the last couple games as he's gotten back into the starting lineup. Back-to-back games, 23-plus minutes, 14-plus points, and 6-plus rebounds in those two games. Do you like Gafford at the ownership? Just for reference, having about 44% on DraftKings right now.
He's not a free square because there's some risk behind him, especially with the foul trouble he gets into. But in the last two games, 24 minutes, 29 minutes, and minimum of 24 DK points. And at his $3,600 salary on DraftKings, that's enough. Like, that's going to be obviously we want a little bit more, and he had 30 DK points the time before, so he can get there. Like, he does have, I think, a pretty good ceiling for a $3,600 guy, especially with the minutes he get. I'm projecting him to get anywhere between 25 to 27 minutes if he stays out of foul trouble. So yeah, I'm going to eat the chalk. I'm going to do it. Again, I don't like to lock in a guy, so I'll definitely be playing two of the three guys. But with playing two of the three guys, or two of my three lineups with Gafford, that makes him a core play for me too. So I like him quite a bit. I'm a little, I don't know if you're getting to it, but I like Kuzma today. Like, I'm talking about it in the chat. Joe Metz is talking about it. Kuzma continues to be overlooked, and he's got a crazy ceiling, in my opinion, one of the highest. And I get it. People are gonna have that sticker shock at 9,200, but 28% usage rate, 75 touches per game. That's wild. Like, there's nothing more to talk about there except for that. This is a great matchup against Detroit. Sorry, your Detroit basketball is not very good defensively. And I think Kuzma is a phenomenal. Like, there's no Dinwiddie, there's no Beal. This is the Kuzma show now. So I like Kuzma also. I'm going to be playing him in at least one of my lineups, but I'm debating doing a second one. Again, I like Luka and I like the Raptors guys. So I find it tough to go all in on him, but I like him here. Della just talked about KCP. I think KCP as the last guy in is a phenomenal play too. Again, I don't like to play him when he's over 4K. That's the only problem. He doesn't have the highest usage, but he does deserve some merit. Like, he's going to be the number two guy here with Hal Neto. I'm not going to play Neto. I'm going to I'm debating whether I want to play KCP, but I think he does deserve merit, especially as the last guy in if you want to fit him in here. But yeah, I'm eating the Gafford chalk. I'm going to play him. I'm going to play Kuzma. I like a little bit of KCP here, Kyle.
Yeah, I agree. I think KCP is fine as a value piece if you need it. And I think you kind of summed it up. I know we're trying to, give conviction plays and stuff, but I think KCP as a last man in is probably a great way to sum him up because you're probably not clicking him as your first couple of names in, right? It's like if you need that value and he's the guy that rounds out your lineup, I think that's kind of the way you treat it. So I think that's pretty accurate. But I think the way I break down Kuzma is going to depend on the updated ownership projections. I'm running them right now, but the thing about Kuzma is, the numbers that you mentioned are really good, right? You take Beal off the floor, you take Harrell off the floor, you take Dinwiddie off the floor. His numbers look really good. The only issue is his price. He's right near Jason Tatum. He's right near Pascal Siakam, whose numbers are all either the same or better. And now Kuzma's in that same price range as those guys. Now, if Kuzma is half the ownership of those guys, I think that there's merit to it because Kuzma's probably going to play a massive amount of minutes, right? The last game out, he played, 38 minutes? 38 minutes in that game against Cleveland, and that was on a second half of a back-to-back after he played 46 minutes against San Antonio in an overtime game. So the minutes are going to be massive no matter what for Kuzma. So that is the really interesting part. Now it's an ownership game for me because I like Tatum more and I like probably Pascal Siakam more. However, now with all this Toronto news, I wouldn't be surprised to see people flock to Siakam, leaving Kuzma very low owned. So that's where it's interesting. And it's not like I had Kuzma overly popular anyway. He's 18% as of now on DraftKings. He's about 28% on FanDuel, where he's a bit cheaper, 8,700. But the thing about FanDuel is Jason Tatum is also cheap. He's only 8,900 over there. So $200 more for Tatum over Kuzma. I take Tatum pretty much 9 times out of 10 there, especially at the ownership concern. They're probably going to be about the same. So that's the way I break down Kuzma. It's going to come down to ownership for me. I think it's a good play, but if Tatum or Siakam are similar in terms of ownership, I prefer those guys. Anything else you want to touch on in this game?
No, I think I'm good. I agree with you. I like Tatum. I like Siakam. I like Trae Young. I think Trae Young is sneaky here. Yeah, I mean, you make some good points. Let's move on.
I'm flattered. Thank you. Atlanta and Boston here. I think this game, we talked about Tatum a bit. I think this game has some intrigue to it, in my opinion. I wrote up Jason Tatum and Trae Young in the article over at FTN Daily as top plays at their position. So I like this game a lot. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I just mentioned it. I like it too. I think the guy that's going to be a forgotten man, and again, he doesn't have as much of a ceiling is Jaylen Brown. Like, I'm not going to play both Jaylen Brown and Tatum. They usually both don't crush, but Jaylen Brown could get there. So I'm going to split it up, really. I mean, I like this game. I like having like a little mini stack correlation of Trae Young with one of the two of Tatum or Brown. And that's about it. Like, I'm not really falling on any other pieces. It's really just the spend ups from the Celtics. Obviously, Tatum's got the higher ceiling, but he's also got the higher price tag. I think Jaylen Brown's fine. There's a ton of risk with Jason Tatum on the floor there, but I like him here still. I think it's a good spot. We've seen Atlanta defense go from one of the best last season to, I mean, I wouldn't say they're one of the worst, but not great, especially in the last 10 games. This team has been struggling, allowing a ton of points here. But I know people would want some ancillary pieces, but I'm just looking at the spend ups, Kyle, really.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Spend ups is where I tend to focus a lot of my interest as well. I don't mind getting some exposure to Jaylen or Jason Brown if you're not playing Tatum, but I do prefer Tatum by quite a bit. Even price considered, I am grading out as a better point per dollar play than Brown as well. So Tatum is one of my favorite plays of the night. The matchup's really good. I guess the main issue is a potential blowout I've seen talked about. I saw it, a little bit over the industry on Twitter a little bit, but I'm not super concerned about it. I think it's a 7.5 point spread. Last I checked, 6.5. So Tatum, I like a ton. Atlanta's bottom 4 in defensive efficiency. I think it's a really good spot for him. And I just don't think that they have anybody to really defend him. Like, they're probably going to try it with DeAndre Hunter, but no offense, but let's throw this back a few days ago when DeAndre Hunter was defending DeMar DeRozan and he had to fake an illness by halftime and didn't come back out of the locker room. So I'm not really overly concerned about it. And I tend to not look at individual matchups too much, but when it's glaring, like they don't really have anybody that I think is going to be able to do a good job against Tatum. And that's partially because Tatum's just so good that the majority of the NBA can't really do that good of a job on him. But really like Tatum a ton. And when you talk about laying out the numbers between Tatum and Kuzma, like Tatum has a better usage rate, better per minute guy. He's probably going to play 36, 37 minutes. So similar things there. So Kuzma's a bit cheaper on DraftKings. So if you wanted that $700 savings, totally fine. But on FanDuel, you can't convince me to play Kuzma over Tatum based on their projections or how they are in general. The only thing that could be convinced is the ownership, in my opinion. On the other side, though, I think there are a couple of secondary guys that I think are pretty interesting on DraftKings. Somewhat interesting on FanDuel, but I want to talk about the secondary wing guys. Bogdanovich is still not cheap, but I don't think he's too expensive yet. On FanDuel, I do think he is too expensive at 6,700. On DK, he's still 5'9". His numbers look really solid with no John Collins and no Cam Reddish on the floor. Obviously, Cam Reddish traded away and John Collins ruled out. 23% usage rate, over 1.05 fantasy point per minute on the season so far with those guys off the floor. So I like Bogdan a pretty good amount. Probably not playing him if I have Trey in the lineup, or probably not playing him. I'm not like forcing those two in together. But also Herter, Hunter, Gallinari, I think those guys are in the mix. Any interest in any of those guys for you?
No, I mean Hunter's fine. I think he's still cheap enough, but again, I'm not messing around with the value pieces. I think it's just going to be the numbers that we put up by Trae Young, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, these guys. So that's what I'm liking here. More than anything else, I don't think I'm going to get to any value. I just prefer the other value pieces elsewhere. And I mean, we're going to have some value here with Flynn and some other pieces from the Raptors. Plus, we talked about Gafford. We haven't talked about LaMarcus Aldridge here. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm going to be playing much of these cheaper pieces at all in my lineups.
Yeah, totally fair. We had a question about Clint Capella. JJ Frick. Josh says he thinks that Capella could go under owned, and he had 17 rebounds last game against Boston. Do you have any interest in Capella there?
No. Again, I'm sticking to cheap centers today. Like I think the only centers I'm playing are Gafford, Aldridge, Precious, and Zubac. So I'm not leaning there. We did get news that Kevin Porter's out, just so you know. So
okay, interesting. I mean that's definitely news that we saw play a pretty big role on the last slate. So we'll talk about that. Ricky, we'll touch on that when we get to that game, which should be, was it next one? Yeah, next game. But anything else in this game that you want to touch on?
Nope.
All right, cool. All right, next game is the Toronto and Brooklyn game. Obviously, did get a good amount of news prior to us going live. Fred VanVleet is out. OG Anunoby, I thought he was out, but apparently he got upgraded to questionable in the middle of the day, but then ultimately ruled out. And then on the other side, Andre Drummond also ruled out for the Nets. And this game isn't at home for the Nets, but they are in Canada, so no Kyrie Irving for this one. Malachi Flynn is announced as the starting point guard. What are your thoughts on this game here?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Kyle, you got to play Flynn. Again, I'm not a guy that likes to go all in, but at 3,100, I think this guy's going to get big minutes. We know Nick Nurse likes to run his starters into the ground. He saw 34 minutes yesterday. Why not go back to him here? So again, rematch of yesterday. He had 36 DK points in a blowout win with 34 minutes, and he got there. Like, I don't know why we wouldn't go back to Flynn. I know he's not going to shoot 7 for 11 again, but this is a great matchup here. And at 3,100, why wouldn't we just lock him in? I mean, I just think that, Malachi Flynn has burned us before when he's chalk, but I think at 3,100, with the minutes he's going to get, it's the same thing that I was touching on with Goodwin yesterday. Goodwin was a good play, in my opinion, because of the minutes he's going to get. Flynn's going to get the minutes. That's the key here. So, yeah, so I'm going to eat the chalk. I'm probably going to lock in Flynn in all three of my lineups. And then I'm going to spread out between Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent, and Siakam. Obviously, two of these three guys can easily crush, and they're going to still get big minutes. Siakam only got 30 minutes yesterday. So that was a little surprising, but I mean, it was the first day of a back-to-back. Scotty Barnes got 34 in the blowout. Scotty Barnes went nuts. What was he, like 10 for 10 start out? Ended up 12 for 14. So yeah, I mean, I think Scotty Barnes, and having, 2 or 3 Raptors in this plus matchup against a Brooklyn team that's just fallen apart since Kevin Durant went down, I think that's key. So yeah, I'm gonna be playing a lot of the Toronto guys. I'll rank it for you just because I know I mentioned a lot of it. But for me, the focus here is Malachi Flynn, and then I'd probably go to Gary Trent over Scotty Barnes. I feel like a lot of people are gonna chase Scotty Barnes. He's not gonna shoot that well today. Don't mark my words. Obviously he can. But I like going to Gary Trent over Scotty Barnes here. Then I'd go Scotty Barnes, then Pascal Siakam just because of price. But I think he's fine too. And then Precious Achiuwa probably last. I don't like playing Precious ever. I get he's been on fire, but I don't know. I'm a little concerned there, as always.
Any bias in there, considering he was a former Heat member and now he left your team?
Ooh, Precious? No.
Yeah.
I
Nope.
don't care. No, we traded him to get the GOAT, Kyle Lowry. Big boy.
I know, I'm just messing with you. But I think in terms of Toronto, tons of good plays. Like even I guess, Flynn and Siakam are probably going to be the two obvious ones. And then people are going to go back to Scotty Barnes. Like Scotty Barnes, best game of his NBA career last night. Had 37 rebounds, it seems like, and he had 5 steals as well. So just a ton of points. And the thing about Scotty Barnes is, like, I'm not surprised at those games because in college he was amazing at putting up these secondary stats. And yesterday took his over on Prize Picks at 5.5 rebounds and wasn't. I mean, 16's a lot, but like 5.5, like, it doesn't really seem like that tough of a deal for Scotty Barnes. So those secondary stats, are easy to come by for Barnes. I like him again. Flynn's going to be massively popular, but I agree with you. Like 34 minutes last night in a blowout. I guess the one point that could be made about Flynn is, like, do they play him at the end of a game if the game's close? I guess that's potentially in question. He's starting again, so I'm not overly concerned about it, but there is a real possibility that, they run Gary Trent at the 1 or, and they use Siakam and Barnes as ball handlers, and maybe they don't close with Flynn. That's a possibility, but probably not extremely likely. But it's not, if the game stays close, it won't be the same scenario that we saw last night, obviously, when the game was just an absolute blowout very early. But a guy that I really like that I think will be a bit overlooked is Gary Trent. When you take Van Vliet and Anunoby off the floor so far this season, he's got a 26% usage rate on the season. So Gary Trent's a guy that I like a ton here in this spot, and I think he'll be a bit overlooked. But I think all 4 of those guys are pretty strong plays. And I think Precious is probably a bit of a better play than you gave him credit for on DraftKings. He is just 4K over there, so I do think he makes some sense. I'm fine with Precious at 4K. I guess the thing now is comparing him to other value options like Gafford and Aldridge, we'll talk about, and maybe even Dwight Howard. So we'll do that at the end. But Precious, I do think I think I'm a little bit higher on Precious than you are.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about Thad Young too. Like I thought it was a mistake not David going 0% on him. I thought he was gonna get blowout run, and he did start to get blowout run, and then I believe he got subbed out. But he only saw 15 minutes, and even the blowout, he had 21 DK points. So at 3,700, obviously we won a little bit more, but you can get more playing time here, more minutes here. So I don't hate him as a value option. He's probably my least favorite, but I'm still gonna play some Thad Young tonight.
Yeah, you definitely need a good permanent performance from him because I don't think he's going to get a ton of minutes. But I see the upside there, especially if the game goes sideways a bit. But I would feel a lot better about Precious on DraftKings. I guess on FanDuel would probably be more of a decision for me. But let's talk the other side here. No Andre Drummond for the Nets, so I think LaMarcus Aldridge is going to start. I don't know if we have a confirmed starting lineup yet, but that's kind of what I initially thought, but I don't think it's for like a for sure thing. But I still think it helps Marcus Aldridge regardless. I think it helps James Johnson regardless. So who's sticking out to you for the Nets?
So yeah, I mean, James Johnson and Aldridge are going to be the staples in my lineup here. I obviously think, Bruce Brown is going to be fine as like a last guy in. He's not going to break a slate at all. But again, as the last guy in, I think there's a ton of other plays obviously better than him, but I just can't get away from him. Like I think we could see a blow up game from him, but this is not the best matchup for Brooklyn. They just got blown out last night. They're coming back to it now on the road. I mean, it's not like it was a far ride for them, but playing in Toronto here back to back, still no Kyrie, still no Kevin Durant. But someone's got to carry this team on their shoulders. It's not going to be Patty Mills. He's obviously shown that. So I think Bruce Brown is interesting, but James Johnson, LaMarcus Aldridge, if James Johnson starts, obviously I'm going back to him. If he doesn't start, I probably won't play him. I prefer him if he's starting here. And then Aldridge, I think either way, he's fine. Like he should get between what 20 to 25 minutes, maybe more now that Drummond's out. So he's a guy that I really do want to play at 4,500 here. So yeah, I think that's about it though, Kyle. Not a ton of love though.
Yeah, I agree with you on Johnson. If he starts again, which I do expect him to, I like him quite a bit. More so on DraftKings than on FanDuel. FanDuel is 5,400, so I like him a lot more over on DraftKings. I do think he'll have some popularity to him, but Aldridge has had a ton of usage when he gets on the floor with these guys off the floor. Guys like Durant and Harden, Kyrie. So the usage has been very high for Aldridge, which I would continue to expect. So I prefer Aldridge over James Johnson, but I'm curious to see where the final ownership number comes in. I have them at about the same ownership percentage right now, so that's somewhat interesting. Like I think if that was the case, I would prefer Aldridge straight up. But those are the only two guys that I'm really looking at from a Brooklyn perspective. So let's head over to the next game here. Golden State in Minnesota. Sounds like Anthony Edwards is going to be a game time decision. He was questionable before last game, ended up playing, but. So I guess I'm expecting him to play as of now, but not overly confident in that. As for Golden State, Klay Thompson's out with an illness. He's expected to be back on Thursday, but he's going to miss this one after missing last game as well. And then I guess the next piece of information that's big from this side, from this game, is Jared Vanderbilt is questionable. So it'll be interesting to see if he suits up because he's been playing pretty solid minutes in the mid to upper 20s at times. So what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, we have to wait and see on that. On the news for Anthony Edwards. It is very interesting because I think like if we get post lock, like after 4:30, 7:30, 4:30 my time, guys. All right, forgive me. But if after 7:30 we get lock and then Anthony Edwards is out, I think D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns are both strong plays here. We know that Golden State's defense is obviously one of the best in the NBA. But with no Anthony Edwards on the floor, I think one of D'Lo or Karl Anthony Towns will be the one to carry this team. For me, it's D'Angelo Russell that I want to focus on. Plus, you got the revenge narrative, right? So he didn't spend much time in Golden State. He got traded pretty quickly, so maybe he's a little extra motivated, especially with this surprising Minnesota team. I think either way, D'Angelo Russell's fine at 7,600. He's going to be the guy I focus on. God, I just can't play Steph Curry. I get it. Like no Clay, Minnesota defense has been struggling as of late, even though it was a defense that we weren't targeting for a while this season. But I just can't do it. I mean, at 10-8, maybe he has a blow up game here. He definitely could, but I'm not getting there. It's really just D'Lo for me, Kyle. And I'd like D'Lo more if like post lock Anthony Edwards is out because we'll get him at lower ownership too.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think if Edwards plays, he does have a pretty cheap price tag on FanDuel, just 6,600. So I guess if you were feeling like you wanted to take a shot on that, him being healthy, all that stuff, it probably feels a bit uneasy. But that is a really cheap price tag. He's been very bad as of late, so it's not like the price tag is outlandish. Like it does sort of make sense, but yeah, I tend to agree. I don't really think that there's a ton that I'm prioritizing up top in this game. I think that there are a couple of guys that are interesting in the mid tier. I think Wiggins is very interesting on both sites, but especially on FanDuel, 5,500. I think that price is very cheap. Pretty significant drops that he sees when he's on the floor with Klay Thompson and Steph. So obviously he'll be sharing the floor with a guy like Steph quite often, but it does help him with Klay out. So I like Wiggins quite a bit. And then on the other side of this, I like Vanderbilt a lot on FanDuel specifically, but even more so, more so on FanDuel, but even on DraftKings as well. I like him quite a bit if he plays. I don't think he'll have any ownership now that he's been ruled questionable, but this is a guy who, the minutes haven't been massive, but they've been fairly consistent. If he were to sit, I think McDaniels would get a nice bump here. McDaniels has also been pretty good when he's given the time. So now if we see Vanderbilt, so Vanderbilt is going to play. We just got that news a few minutes ago. So thank you to HP Cards for sending that in the chat. But now that Vanderbilt is good to go, I like him. I like him a pretty good amount. I don't think he'll have any ownership. I'm not really concerned about him being limited minutes wise. And even if he is, I don't think that it's going to be a spot where he's not a guy that goes and gets massive minutes anyway. So if he's going to play mid-20s minutes, which is where I am projected right now, I like him quite a bit. Vanderbilt's probably my favorite play from this game
Wow.
on DraftKings and on FanDuel, but Wiggins is also in contention as my favorite play from this game on FanDuel, where he's just 5,500. But I mean, yeah, nobody's going to play Vanderbilt, man. I think he'll be sub 10%. My projections have him for like 12, but I think that's too high, especially now with the. I know he's been ruled in, but that injury tag throughout the day, I think will probably keep people off of him. So, do you have any interest in Vanderbilt?
I don't think so. I mean,
Let me down easy. Let me down easy.
Yeah, I mean, we could see here. I'm not going to be like David. That's like I'm playing 0 of your core play, but I think here I just can't get it. I mean, there's just a ton of safer plays, but we could see a Vanderbilt Moon game. The thing is, it's just I think I would like him more if Ant was out. Like if the usage opens up a little bit more. But this guy, I mean, he's a rebounding machine. So I mean, there's some upside there with him, but I don't think I'm going to land there really, Kyle.
Yeah, and it's more so of a FanDuel play, I guess, because again, another guy that benefits a lot with those extra points from blocks and steals. So I do like that quite a bit, but I can still get behind it on DraftKings as well. But anything else from this game that you want to touch on?
No, I think we're ready to rock and roll.
All right, Clippers and the Rockets. We just got news that Kevin Porter Jr. is out. We've seen a solid sample now after the trade deadline with Porter out, and Dennis Schroeder has excelled in these situations. Last game played 37 minutes. In the first game with no Kevin Porter Jr., he played 38 minutes. So a ton of run here available for Schroeder. He's had 6+ assists in 4 straight games, and 3 of those games were with no Kevin Porter Jr. And in those games with no Kevin Porter Jr., he has 9+ assists. So overall, just a lot of usage for Schroeder, and he's been very good. So I'm assuming you're going to have some interest in Schroeder. Do you still have some interest, assuming that he's going to be somewhat popular, or are you kind of the belief that he might not get all that popular considering the late news and a lot of guys locking in on certain players in the earlier games?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to get a ton of traction here. Could be a forgotten man, actually, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, he's 5,900, so he's not the chalk price that we saw before. But I mean, against the Clippers here, who obviously are not the same team since losing Paul George, I think Schroeder's going to be the guy that's going to carry the team on his back. So I'm going to have some exposure. I'll probably have two of my 3 lineups with him, but I'm not going to go overboard. So I think. One of my favorite mini stacks here is a price that is a similar price on DraftKings of Marcus Morris. So I think having like a little mini stack of Dennis Schroeder and Marcus Morris, I love that today. Obviously, we just saw Zubac go crazy, and he was going to be one of the centers I consider. But I think I'm just going to punt at center today. So I don't think I'm going to even land on him. But I think he's a fine play, especially against Houston. I mean, from top to bottom, this team could crush Houston. It's just a matter of Houston keeps the game close. I think they could today, and if they do, we're going to need Schroeder to step up his game. So yeah, I like Schroeder. I like Marcus Morris. I like a little mini stack there. I think if you want like a last guy in, a sneaky guy, Kyle, is Luke Kennard. He gets blowout run. He's the guy that he's going to get a ton of minutes off the bench. He's usually like the first guy in here for this team. The thing is his minutes. In the last game against Houston, actually on the what was it, yesterday or the day before? He only saw 23 minutes, only had 8 DK points, but before that against the Lakers, 34 minutes, 32 DK points, 23 minutes, 36 DK points. So Kennard does have some upside here. I hate that he doesn't start, but he runs that second unit. He does close out some games. So I think Kennard is a sneaky play in my opinion, Kyle. But yeah, the focus is Schroeder and Morris for me.
Yeah, I love your call on Morris. He's also one of my favorite mid-tier plays on the entire slate, actually. So he's a guy that I definitely have a good amount of interest in, and I agree with you on Schroeder. I do think that we'll see Schroeder get some ownership, but maybe not like the monstrous ownership that we saw over the last couple times that we saw those guys ruled out. So yeah, I mean, I like Schroeder quite a bit, and I like Morris as well. I think that Zubac is a strong play, especially if you're, in that mid-tier range, I guess. And I guess I would prefer Zubac over Capella slightly. But those guys are about the same to me, but I'm probably going to find myself, as it sounds like you are, in that tier below the Zubac tier at center, where you're spending, sub 5K
Yeah.
with Aldridge or Gafford or guys like that. So I tend to agree with you there. The only guys I have interest in this game really are Morris and Schroeder. Anybody else sticking out to you? What about Eric Gordon? I know on DraftKings a bit more expensive, but on FanDuel 3,900, would you be intrigued by that price at all?
I think it's fine. I'm not, just because of DraftKings and that's where I'm playing. I'm not landing on it though.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Anything else in this one?
Nope. Good to go. Reggie Jackson's 8,200. So no, thank you.
Yeah, he is 7K on FanDuel, and I still don't really like it over there because he's projecting for 30% ownership as of now. So
Yikes. Yeah.
I'll pass on that one.
Big yikes.
Yeah, Dallas and the Lakers. Russell Westbrook is 6,600 on FanDuel as of now. I have a feeling that the Lakers are dying to get out of LA. I don't know if you saw it, but last game, like every single player on the team is at some point chirping at fans in the stands. Like LeBron's going at somebody, and then you see Trevor Ariza, and then you see Westbrook come off the floor, take a seat, and then turn around and start talking to fans. Like they are in a bad space right now in that stadium. They need to get out of there. Unfortunately, they're going to be in there again tonight, and they are not playing well at all. It's been brutal all year long. This Lakers, I know you like to see it. I also like to see it. Our fearless leader, Kevin Adams, does not like to see it. But hey, the Lakers are struggling. However, are you going to any of these guys here for DFS purposes?
I love it. I love it so much. I don't love that they were my pick to win the West. I'm gonna stick with it. Playoff LeBron and Anthony Davis will be back in full force.
They got to get there first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, for me, Kyle, it's Luka's a core piece here. The question is, can they keep it close? Like we're talking about the Lakers now being blown out. I'm not playing Westbrook, Kyle. I know last time you liked him at that price tag on FanDuel, and he still failed. I just can't get behind it here. So I'm not gonna play any Russ. I think LeBron is sneaky. Like maybe he's extra motivated, Kyle. Maybe he goes, balls to the walls. I don't know if that's the right word to say, but maybe he goes crazy here today. But he's got legit upside. I don't think I'm going to play Luka and LeBron together. I think it'll just be one-off pieces. But if you want to mini stack it, there's enough value there to play both these guys here in this spot. So I think it's perfectly fine. But the key pieces I'm focusing on here, we got to wait to see if Howard starts. But even if he does start, now that he's priced up, I don't think I'm going to land there. Again, I'm sticking to Aldridge, Achua, and Gafford as my three centers tonight. I don't think I'm going to play anybody else, Kyle. I think those are the guys that I'm really going to just lock in as my centers using the FTN Daily Optimizer. And then for me, in this game, though, there's a ton of pieces here. Obviously, you can sprinkle in, but for me, I'm just focusing on the spend-ups. Luka and LeBron. That's about it.
Yeah. So Luka is definitely my favorite spend up of the day. I think that if you are spending up, over what 10K or so, like he's the guy that I'm looking at. I know he is very expensive on DraftKings, but he's getting really close to like that Jokic projection territory, right? Where he's very expensive, but he's still projecting as a strong point per dollar play. Like when you sort in the projections by overall projection, he's 12 points higher than anybody else on the slate, which the next highest is Steph. And then it's LeBron, which Steph and LeBron are basically tied. So it's 12-point difference. And then when you try to find someone who's a better point per dollar play than Luka, that's above even 9K or 8K, you have to go down all the way down to Pascal Siakam to find somebody who's as strong of a point per dollar play as Luka. So even when he's this expensive, he's still projecting as a strong point per dollar play over 5x. So I love Luka. Tough for me not to play him here. When you look at his splits as of late with no Porzingis, no Tim Hardaway, 40% usage rate. That's actually 41% and like a 1.67 fantasy point per minute. So again, he's nearing the Jokic territory. He's nearing like that Embiid with no Seth Curry and all those guys out territory. Like his rates look very, very good right now. So when you are talking guys like LeBron and Steph, like I actually think Steph's fine tonight. I think he is a very strong play considering he's not going to have any ownership. And I think even LeBron's a really strong play considering he's not going to have much ownership either. But just none of those guys compare to Luka for me. So I'm just focusing a lot of that salary up top to Luka. So that's my breakdown for Luka and kind of for the entire Dallas team, because I'm probably not going to be getting to, a ton of other options here. Like I think Brunson's fine, but only really on FanDuel. And if you're not playing Luka, 5.8 on FanDuel is really cheap. But again, probably not pairing him up with Luka, because when you're playing Luka at that price tag, you're really hoping for that massive, that 70-point game. And I think Dinwiddie is somewhat appealing here. He played 31 minutes last game, and in a close game too. That game was a 3-point game. They beat the Warriors. They came all the way back. I'm sure a lot of you guys remember it, but 31 minutes, it continues to trend upward in terms of his usage and his minutes. If he's going to be a guy that's going to be playing, 28 to 31 minutes, he definitely has a ceiling, especially if he's going to be playing with that second unit and getting all this usage that he is getting. I think Dinwiddie also has some appeal. Do you have any interest in Dinwiddie?
No, I'm not going to get to Dinwiddie. I don't want to play him until Luka is out. But you mentioned it, like I didn't dive too deep into it, so I apologize. But I think Luka, ever since Porzingis has been out and he got shipped off, like this guy is just playing at another level. Like this is his team now. So, and he's proving it. Like he's a phenomenal play too, and I like him as a spend up. But I think LeBron's going to come out with a vengeance here. Like we might be seeing playoff LeBron here in March. So we'll have to wait and see. I've been saying that for a while though, but we'll see what happens. I do think LeBron's a strong play though. I have a feeling, Kyle, we're not going to make a bet on this because this is just a gut feeling that LeBron outscores Luka today in fantasy points. Just a gut call. Just a gut feeling. Just a gut feeling. All right.
If he does that, I'll be very
no bet though. I'm not that confident.
Yeah,
all right.
That's fair. I mean, I do like LeBron as well. Like I mentioned, like I think him and Steph are interesting because Luka's probably going to have double, maybe triple their ownership. On FanDuel for sure double. On DraftKings probably double, maybe triple. So I think LeBron and Steph are still very interesting. It's just Luka is so tough to pass up, especially on a small slate where you don't necessarily even need him to be all that good on a point per dollar scale. If he's the highest scorer by 8 to 10 points, he's probably going to be the guy who people need in their lineups to take down a tournament. So on a 5-game slate, getting a guy that is the highest scorer is going to go a long way. But I do want to touch on a little bit of the Lakers. We talked a little bit about Westbrook, and it sounds like you're not playing him at all. I'm probably not playing him either. On FanDuel, he is 6'6", though. You probably don't want to do it, but it's probably not the worst thing in the world either, though, right? Like he's 6'6". That's so cheap. But probably not something I'm doing with a ton of confidence. But I want to talk to you about Dwight Howard. Do you have any interest in Dwight Howard? DeAndre Jordan, officially gone. They saw him, make a fool of himself last game, and they said, "Yeah, we're gonna do away with this guy." He played 9 minutes last game in a blowout, so he wasn't really a massive part of the rotation anyway. But last game, Howard played 22 minutes in a blowout. In the game before that, 26 minutes in a blowout. Very, very good permanent producer. Do you have any merit to playing Howard, maybe over a guy like Gafford or Aldridge, like at lower ownership? Any interest there?
The question is, how much time is Howard really going to get? Like, even with DeAndre Jordan,
I am for 25 minutes.
Like, even at 25 minutes, 2 games ago against the Clippers, he had 44 DK points. So that's something to definitely know. I just don't find the minutes safe, so that's my problem. So at 4,300, I much prefer him under 4K. I think he's fine as the last guy in, but man, I just don't see him blowing up in this game. Dallas has been very good defensively, so I'm not on Howard, Kyle. Even if he draws a start here, he should draw the start because I think they'll probably match him against Dwight Powell. I don't think they'd put LeBron there. So
yeah, but I mean, it seems like even in spots where a few nights ago, Ricky brought this up and I was wrong on it. I said I don't really know if the Lakers will match a team rather than force another team to match them because they were playing LeBron at the 5. And it seems like Howard's going to get those minutes regardless. Like in terms of comparing him to Gafford and to LaMarcus Aldridge, I actually think that Howard has the least volatile minutes projection. That doesn't necessarily mean I think he has the best odds to get the most. I think we could see games where Aldridge goes out and gets 30. I don't think we see any world where Gafford plays 30. Probably don't see, all that often where Howard plays 30. But in terms of their range, I think Howard's probably in between 22 and 26. Gafford could be like 18 and 25. Aldridge could be like 22 to 30, I guess. Like, I think Howard is the most projectable from a minutes perspective. So I think you can make a real case for Howard over Gafford on FanDuel, where he's $400 cheaper. On DraftKings, Gafford is $700 cheaper, so that goes a long way. But I think this is an important spot to talk about these value centers, because it sounds like you and I are both going to be prioritizing these guys. So let's try to rank these guys for the viewers: Gafford, Aldridge, Precious, Dwight Howard, and then anybody else that's kind of like in the 5K or less. Anybody that's sticking out to you, that you can go ahead and rank those guys.
Yeah, Gafford's one, I think, far and away number one for me. Like, even with the minutes, just because of price. Like, he's the cheapest of all these guys. I think I'd put Aldridge second, because I think with no Andre Drummond, this could be a boost for him. Like, it is the second night of a back-to-back. We've seen Nash do some funky shit, and maybe Aldridge gets did not play coach's decision here. I hope to God not, because I do have Aldridge in 2 of my 3 lineups. I think I put Precious third, but I think it's a close third with Aldridge just because of his price. 4K. He did get 24 minutes last game, 30 minutes the game before. He's not starting, obviously, but he could be still playing his 24 to 26 minutes here, so I think he's fine. And then last I would put is Howard.
Yeah. Okay. I think that, those are I think that's totally fair. I'm probably Howard over Precious, but I have no problem with you flipping those guys. I do think these guys are pretty close, and I tend to, it seems like, agree with you, where you like you're basically ranked them. You like the cheapest more. Like
all right, I put Howard
order.
in for Precious in one of my lines. Now I have Howard in one of my 3, pal. So if that costs me a live final ticket, I'm coming after you. All right?
I'll just take you to Nashville.
Okay, perfect. I mean, I'll be there already. So
all right, I'll meet you there. No, I won't. But just kidding. So I would also agree with you. So I would agree with you in some ways and then disagree, because I would go Aldridge over Gafford, just because I think Aldridge has a slightly higher ceiling. But on a point per dollar scale, I do think Gafford is the best. So I'll rank them: Aldridge, Gafford, Howard, Precious, and then I'll sneak in Isaiah Stewart in there as well at 5K. But also, I want to throw in Jared Vanderbilt, 4,500. He does have power forward and center eligibility, so you're probably not playing him as a center, because you can play him at power forward. But yeah, I think that this is probably where the slate's made, in my opinion, getting these center values correct. So if you're playing 150 lineups, you're using the optimizer, I would suggest making a rule, maybe even saying that, hey, like, if you wanted to take a stand, which is what I'm doing tonight, and saying I want a value center, I would make a rule that says I want at least one of Gafford, Aldridge, Precious, Howard, Stewart, Vanderbilt. Anybody else that you would consider throwing in that rule? And do you agree with that kind of rule tonight?
no, I think that's fine for that kind of rule. Again, if you're doing like 10 lineups, I think sticking to Gafford, Aldridge, Achua, and Howard, and just using the FTN Daily Optimizer that way works. Yeah, that's what I would do, though.
Yeah,
you do 150, obviously bump it up and do what you said.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I think 10 lineups, narrow that down to 4 of those guys. And again, you can on DraftKings play them in the utility spot as well. So definitely ways you can work that around in those 10 lineup builds. But Ricky says, any Clippers love? One of them got a boom, I assume. It sounds like me and you are both in favor of Morris as our favorites. One guy I didn't mention that I also like as a sneaky value play is Amir Coffee. Had him for about 24 minutes tonight. He's projecting as a pretty solid value. Do you have any interest in Coffee, or are you mostly just sticking to Morris?
I'm sticking out of there.
Yeah. And again, Coffee's probably just a 150 type guy as well, but wanted to list him because he does have a good ceiling when he gets in there for the minutes, and his minutes have been pretty consistent in between 22, 23, 25 minutes or so. Ramos wants to know if you have a sexy six. Do you want to give it live on the air?
I was actually just responding to him. So I'd say the core would be focused around the guys that I have in 2 of my 3 lineups. So Gafford, Schroeder, Flynn, Aldridge, Trae Young. I think that's it. I'm looking at my lineups now, just because I spread out the Raptors so much. Like, I have Siakam in 1, Barnes in 1, Trent in 1. I don't have all 3, or I don't have 2 of the 3 together, but I do have like Flynn and a few of those plus Precious. So So yeah, I think those are my core would be Gafford, Schroeder, Flynn, Aldridge, Trae Young.
Okay, I like it. Gallo or Kellyo?
Kellyo.
All right. I would lean Gallo there, but don't mind Kellyo either. But I do prefer other options. Shazam in that range. I think you can. I probably prefer Vanderbilt, honestly. Trent Jr. or Schroeder. That's a good one.
So I asked him, how many Raptors do you have right now? So it depends.
He said one.
So is it Flynn though? Because if it's just Flynn, I say go Trent. If it's Barnes or Siakam, I say go Schroeder. Then that's how I would position it. So
okay,
but it depends. It depends on, and I'm asking him, so I'll ask him.
Yeah,
Dave Wizard besides Gafford. Oh, that's a good one. For me, it's Kuzma. I like spending up for Kuzma.
It would be KCP for me.
Ooh, KCP's. Phil Connors Toaster's asking, why not a little love for Curry? Yeah, Kyle had a little love for Curry. Seth Curry. I thought you meant Steph Curry. Seth should carry this team. I think he's fine, but it is a tough matchup. He's very scoring dependent. He's priced up a little bit, so that's why I'm not really on Steph. Really. Or Seth.
Yeah, my thing about Seth is you have Gary Trent in that range. You have Dennis Schroeder as guards in that range. So I prefer both of those guys a lot more than Curry. You also have Andrew Wiggins in that range. So it's not that I think Seth is a bad play. I do think he'll have some pretty good usage here, but I just like some other options more. By the way, projections are updated. So if you guys are looking for those are in there. If you guys are watching this on YouTube and you aren't an FTN daily subscriber, highly recommend doing that. We obviously have the projections updated every single day, and we have tons of content and tools. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel and like this video. We do appreciate it a ton. Helps us out a lot, and our goal is to, at the end of the day, try to get more content on the YouTube side of things. So the likes and the subscriber count going up really helps us out a ton. We appreciate it. And if you are watching this, thank you for your support. Luka, Wiggins, Precious, or Steph, Matthews, Garrison Matthews, D'Lo.
I said 2 just because I don't like Wiggins. I know you like Wiggins, but I'm not on Wiggins at all. So that's why I lean 2. And plus, I take the chance in case Ant Edwards is out.
Yeah, I would prefer the first one, but
you like Wiggins. I'm never Wiggins, man. Never Wiggins. I just can't freaking play that guy. Ever.
I mean, I hear you. We didn't really talk about Garrison Matthews though. Any interest in any significant interest?
He's questionable though. That's the thing.
Yeah. He is good to go, I believe.
Is he?
I think I saw.
I was just looking at the notes and I didn't see anything about him here. The last update was early. Oh, it looks like he is available. Yeah, I like him. I think he's fine. 3,600. He's cheap value. I think he's going to go overlooked. So I think he's a phenomenal play. Especially going against the Clippers at 3,600 and the minutes he should see. So yeah, I'm in. Sign me up, Kyle. Check.
Yeah. Phil Connors Toaster. That name cracks me up every time. He asked, is beef stew out? I don't believe so.
No,
he's good to go. Yep. He's good to go. But 5 minutes left. Any
Where's Sep? Huh? Where's Sep? Huh?
Yeah, where's Sep? He's normally here to call me out on the.
We finished like 10 minutes early too. Let's go.
T Panthers has a question. FanDuel, large field GPP 2v2, Schroeder and Cat, or Steph and Gafford. The current lineup has KCP, Kuzma, LeBron, and Tatum. For me, it would be the second one.
I said the first. Kyle, we're just so off today. Everyone just make 2 lineups and just do.
I don't know. I think I actually do like the first one more there, actually. I agree with you. I agree. Schroeder and Cat. I agree. We're in lockstep.
I guess he's not in the projection. Beef stew.
Let me check. Did you type in beef stew to find him? You probably won't find him under that name.
Do we like Bey? No, I don't really like Sadiq Bey ever. I like Sadiq Bey more if Cade was out, but for me, it's Cade over Bey, really.
All right, I'll let you answer those questions. I'm going to check on this real quick.
Sure. Trying to see if I miss any. Trying to answer as many questions as well in chat. Ezekiel, I like Kuzma. KCP is a close second for favorite Wizard. Yes, I agree with David. David says anything you need a minimum of 2 Wizards. I agree. It's a matchup against Brooklyn again. From we saw the blowout yesterday. Scotty Barnes is not going to shoot what he did yesterday. Don't quote me on that in case he does shoot like he did yesterday. But for me, I do like Trent here over Barnes. Who's the big sneeze? That's Precious Achua, Herm.
Best nickname ever.
Oh, I get it now. Achua. I didn't know why that was his nickname either. Tuck Hardenstein for late slate. I think I like him there. I think he's good too. If this game gets out of hand, hey, where'd your question go? Well, they're coming for you again. So for me, if this game gets out of hand, which we've seen the Clippers just beat down the Rockets time and time again, he's going to be one of the top values, especially on the late slate. Could be top value on the main slate too, but I prefer him for the late slate. So I think he's perfectly fine. He's got some upside there. Kyle, they coming for you or what?
Yeah, they always are, man. Every time I'm on a show, the sirens come. As for Hartenstein, I like that call on a late slate. He's typically a guy that I do like, so on like smaller slates. So I like it.
Running one line in single entry, risky to fade Gafford. No, because I think Aldridge and Howard and Precious are fine. I don't think it's risky at all. Any Raptor except Barnes with ceilings today and LeBron triple-double. I'll go pick out my house tonight. Okay.
What did he say?
Herm. I guess Herm is not playing much Barnes today, and he is heavily on LeBron. So if all the Raptors go crazy except Barnes, he's going to go buy a new house. Kispert or McDaniel for DK3 max? You liked McDaniel, right?
I liked him more if Vanderbilt was out, or I guess if Edwards is out. But out of those two, I would prefer McDaniels. Yeah,
I agree. McDaniel. Hard to beat cum bucket. Yeah, I agree. 1 minute. Oh God, David, do not say Wiggins season. Get out of here. What's wrong with you guys? Andrew Wiggins.
Hey, it's a good play, man.
You guys are freaking crazy.
Well, Kerm's on him too.
I don't give a shit. I'm sorry, Herm. I didn't mean that. But like Wiggins, why are we playing Wiggins? I get the price and stuff, but why? Why? Because Clay's out. We've seen many times that when Clay missed half the season, right, with recovery from his ACL. Why are we playing Wiggins? I don't understand that. Like, this is not second most owned Raptor behind Flynn. Yes, I like that too. I don't understand why we're playing Wiggins. This is a big mistake, guys. Do not play Wiggins. Wiggins equals Trey Man yesterday. Yeah, Trey Man cost me a lot of money. Thanks a lot, David. David didn't even text me back. I said, fucking Trey Man. You both like Wiggins Barnes? No. I mean, it depends how many Raptors you have, Gruggers.
I mean, Wiggins will for sure be lower on.
Aldridge is starting. All right, there we go.
That's a good bump for him.
Yeah.
What did Trey Man finish with last night?
Under 20. Wiggins or Morris?
Okay.
Morris.
Man, you guys didn't read my article, huh? He was my fade.
Who?
Trey Man.
Trey Man? Dang.
Yeah.
Well, that was David.
To be fair, though, I got him
into Trey Man. All right, he mentioned it in chat again 100 times. I had to go with my boy. All right.
Yeah, the first night that man had, I guess 2 games ago, and David blew up the chat about Trey Man. That did work out. That did pay off for him.
It did pay off.
So, hey, 50%, not too bad. All right.
Yeah, I have 1 of 3 of Barnes, 1 of 3 of Trent, 1 of 3 of Siakam. I'm fine with being underweight on Barnes, guys. But I think you need at least 2 Raptors today, whether it's Precious or Flynn, with one of those guys. So,
did you rank your Raptors?
I did. Yeah, it's Trent, Siakam, Barnes.
What about Flynn? Flynn's one.
Well, Flynn's one, yeah.
Obviously, Malachi Flynn, the big name star Malachi Flynn.
Yeah.
Obviously number one.
Big dog, Malachi Flynn. So I changed my lock though. Like I had Flynn in all my lineups, and I think I changed from Flynn to Gafford in all my lineups.
Wow.
And I did one Achua, one Howard, one Aldridge.
Okay. I think Aldridge is in a really good spot now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I might have to do 2 of 3 Aldridge. That's unfortunate.
Let's take a look at the ownerships from the first game. I'm curious to see where Mr. Gafford came in. Davis Caldwell-Pope is 16% owned.
Well, that's pretty high for him.
All right. Kuzma's 18. Do you still like Kuzma at 18%?
That's pretty high. I thought he'd be probably below 15. That's pretty surprising, actually.
Yeah, let's say Tatum is like 25%. Who would you rather have? Like if you could either have 100 or 0% of one. Who would you rather have, Tatum or Kuzma? Knowing that Kuzma's 18%.
Yeah, I mean, I like Tatum's upside more, so I'd probably go Tatum.
Yeah, I agree. I would go Tatum, even if he was like 15% more owned than Kuzma. But in terms of the ownership, Gafford 40%. This is the main $15 DraftKings line contest. Gafford 40, Kuzma 18.7, KCP 16, Sadiq Bey 10.5. Raul Neto got 8% ownership.
Oh, big yikes!
Any thoughts on Neto, or do you have Neto interest in him?
Oh God, Kyle, don't. That's terrible. That was just. What's wrong with you? That was just bad. That was bad. Yeah, I have no Neto. So.
Cade Cunningham 7%.
Yeah, I like that. I played him in one. I played Cunningham and Kuzma together, so I like that, Kyle.
All right. Marvin Bagley owned in 0.01%.
Yikes.
Someone put, I just don't get how this even happens. Check Diallo, Jamorko, Pickett. Those guys are in lineups.
Yeah, they're going to put up some 30 burgers today. You'll see.
I don't think those guys are in the country, let alone playing in the NBA. Check Diallo's playing in Spain or something. I don't actually know if that's true or not, but don't fact check me. All right. That's going to do it for us. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Stay tuned for the 7:30 games. We'll be in Discord up until then, hanging around. Javi's always in the Discord. I'm pretty sure he just listens there. Shazam said that's worse than your puns. I don't know, Shazam. You have some pretty dad like puns. Mine was just it was supposed to be so bad that it was like kind of funny.
That was terrible.
Javi laughed.
Javi
really laughed at it. But
really
I also pay Javi monthly, so he laughs at all my stuff. He gets the monthly check. See, there we go. But that's gonna do it for us. Hopefully, Javi's ready to end this broadcast because he is the producer behind the glass.
Ooh.
We will see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully, you have a great Thursday night and have a good Friday as well. It's Wednesday night. What am I doing? It's Tuesday night. What am I doing, Javi?
Wow, what's wrong? Hey, are we getting some beans though? That's all I'm curious about.
Yes, play the beans so I can get out of here.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Let's get these beans.